This is my take on the first two games. For Game 1, lack of inexperience, mistakes. Obviously, the first pitch of Harvey went right off Cespedes' leg and bounced to the line. And then, of course, Familia, at some point, he was going to blow a save. He did it in Game 1. And then, of course, the Royals end up winning in 14 innings, which I thought was a great game on both sides. Last night, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, as a Mets fan, was embarrassing.
Game 1 had a little bit of everything in it. You know, you had the crazy mistake early. It led to the inside the park home run for Escobar, who's been tremendous in this series through 2 games. And, you know, an unfortunate error on the part of Yoenis Cespedes. But the Mets had seemingly picked them up between the offensive output. They got a couple runs on the board. They caught a break with Eric Hosmer committing the old Bill Buckner. I know Met fans thought that the ghosts were in the house there. And, you know, obviously it didn't turn out that way. You know, it's unfortunate. As you said, Jeurys Familia was bound to blow one eventually, Sean, but it's just not the night you'd want him to do it on.
Absolutely
and that's
not.
the unfortunate part about it all. But, you know, the Mets have an opportunity to bounce back, getting home tomorrow night. That's the important part.
Exactly. Dan, your thoughts?
Well, I didn't see the first portion of Game 1, but I did see that Escobar had the inside the park home run. Once I saw exactly what had happened, I kept saying to myself, that one run is going to stand out.
You're right.
And obviously the Mets had the lead, and then I saw, as soon as I saw like the ball go off the bat of Gordon, I had a feeling like, tie game.
This was my feeling, and not to jinx Familia, but as a Mets fan, I said, this guy has been too good to not screw up right now.
Yes.
And he did. But you know what? You give him Game 1, you think, okay, mistakes and inexperience. Royals did the same thing last year, and they took the Giants to the limit in Game 7. So I'm not worried. Game 2 happens last night, and DeGrom got DeGrominated last night. Like that. I think that's been the story in the papers this morning. He got murdered last night.
It was not pretty. You know, you don't want that to be the note you go out on if he doesn't get an opportunity to pitch again this series. It was a struggle seemingly from the outset. He wasn't comfortable really. I know they led 1-0, but just didn't seem right. Didn't seem comfortable. You know, I know a lot of people want to raise the question: are he and Matt Harvey burnt out? Because really their starts haven't been that great in this postseason. However, I don't think that's so much the issue. I think just they ran into a nice hitting team last night. Excuse me, not nice. A really solid hitting team. The first 2 games of the series. The Royals have a great approach. We talked about that against Toronto and even against Houston, Sean, particularly in that inning where they were down 6-2, right? They're facing the precipice of defeat. They're about to go home. And they came out and they scored, 7 runs in that inning?
Yeah, they were about 4 or 5 outs from elimination.
Right. And it wasn't on a bunch of grand slams. It wasn't on a couple homers or anything.
No, it was on a couple errors.
It wasn't a grand slam. It was on some errors, some good base running, and some really, really well taken at bats and just well placed hits. They're not looking to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Their approach is wonderful at the plate.
I'm pretty surprised. I mean, last year with Kansas City, this is just a team you cannot rest on. It's like no matter if you have a 3-run lead, a 4-run lead, you got to treat it like you got the bases loaded every single. Well, not like every single pitch.
Well, they literally did that all the whole last 2 games. But go on.
Yeah, I just look at this overall. My take last night, I saw it was more or less like that. Not a whole lot of action, but as soon as that 5th inning unraveled, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be good. And I'm actually surprised Johnny Cueto did pretty good. I know
I couldn't believe his performance last night. Hats off to Johnny Cueto. Mr. Inconsistency in the postseason brought his prime last night. Complete game 2 hitter, all hits by Lucas Duda, and again, the Royals completely pounded DeGrom. Moustakas went 2 for 3. Hosmer 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. Escobar 2 for 5, a triple and 2 RBIs. Mets went 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position, left 3 on base. DeGrom only went 5 innings. Personally, I thought he was in too long. I know he's your ace, but in a situation like that, he's just giving up runs after runs after runs after runs, and John Neese is barely getting stretched out in the bullpen. I'm like, Terry, what are you doing?
I think that's the first time a Met fan has ever asked to see John Neese in a game, but okay.
Well, he was the one warming up, so I was like, come on.
That was the thing we had talked about. If the starters ran into trouble, that's when the Mets would have a problem in this series because the Royals' bullpen is so much deeper. It's a really talented bullpen. They're a bunch of hard throwers. They have low ERAs. I know Greg Holland not being there might feel like a loss, but they're going to get along just fine out there. And it seemed the concern last night was Terry didn't want to pull the plug on DeGrom and make the switch to the bullpen. And I'm one of those people who believe that you win and lose with your best. but I don't think DeGrom had it anymore, and that game spiraled out of control. It's not all DeGrom's fault.
Absolutely not.
But, he's on the hill for that, and probably could have at least taken the chance to get him out of the game and see if he can pull someone else out of the bullpen that can limit the damage, keep it at a manageable deficit.
Right. Yeah, and when you look at Game 1 too, it was one of those situations where the Mets had it. Familia comes in, it's 4-3, and Dan, you were absolutely right. That first pitch of the game off Escobar's bat really made the difference because Gordon hits that home run in a 4-2 game. I personally think they're going back to New York with a split. Mets win that game 4-3. There was already one out in the inning.
Your math would serve you right, sir.
Math would serve me right. Now, of course, other things could have happened to the point where Familia may have blown the save and tied the game, but we'll never know that. But personally, Dan, you're absolutely right. I think that that unearned run in the first inning really cost the Mets Game 1.
Oh, it was unearned, or did they give him the credit for the
I'm pretty sure. Well, no, I think it was earned.
I think
it was
a double, and then the inside the park home run ruled on the error.
Just based off what I saw,
he would have been at second.
What's in my head? Yeah, what's in my head? It should have been an unearned run anyway. So that's what I think it was. I personally do think that you can't blame it all on Cespedes because it was the first pitch of the game. You can't really be like, the Mets. Well, you can. What I'm saying is, the Mets offense really looked like crap the whole night, all the 9 yards.
The problem is, not so much that he didn't catch the ball. It was the lack of communication going into that situation. Right. He and Conforto looked back and forth each other 3 or 4 times as if to say, I don't know who has it, who has it. And then all of a sudden the ball hits. And listen, the inside the park home run was a result of the fact that it took a terrible carom right off Cespedes' leg. If it hit the wall, it dies there, and it's probably a double or a triple. Probably a triple with Escobar's speed.
Right.
He still has a high percentage chance of scoring. It takes a sack, fly a ground ball, especially considering
which Harvey settled in right after that.
Right. That's the thing. If he doesn't come around, probably, if he doesn't get to third, or I shouldn't say third. If he doesn't score on the inside the park home run, I'm not sure if he scores there. Right. Harvey really got it going.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder. I mean, I guess my overall take with Game 1 is they didn't play bad. Honestly, the Mets, they played decently in the fact that he was able to settle in, like you said, after that one run, and then obviously they chipped away. And that's why it's the errors always have to take advantage. It makes you wonder too. If Hosmer doesn't commit that error, it's not 4-3. And it makes you wonder. I mean, but I don't. I just look at overall. It's my overall take. They're down 2-0, and they're going back home. It's the same thing. I don't want to have to throw the Yankees in here as an example.
No, throw the Yankees in.
No, because you could throw the Yankees in a million times. They've done it at least 6 of the 11 times.
They have they've done this a couple times.
1996. I remember they got rather hammered the first 2 games against the Braves in 1996, and they came back and won.
Rather hammered's an understatement.
But
same thing in 2001.
I have hopes that at least Synderhaard will turn it around for at least make it a series tomorrow.
I say this every game they go in, but I mean it this time. Friday is the biggest must win of the year. You lose Friday, it's over. And you know what?
Yeah.
Martin's been saying it's been over since August, but I'll be on his side if they lose Friday. It's completely done.
Tomorrow night, you have to have the game.
Tomorrow night, you've got to have it.
It's all hands on deck.
And you know what? The Mets have done this before too.
Can't afford this.
They went down 2-0 at home against Boston in '86. They come back. They destroy Boston in the next 2 games. Boston takes a 3-2 lead. We all know what history said in Game 6 and 7, but the Mets did it. They were I believe, the 10th team to do it. Yankees 10 years later, the 11th team to do it. And the Yankees have done it a couple times before that too. 81 Dodgers. The Yankees were on the opposite side of it.
Yep.
So
and the Yankees were on the losing end in 2001.
Yes,
they did come back.
They were
won
close.
the 3 straight home games, but then they dropped the next 2.
Arizona won the first 2. They win the next 3. Arizona wins Game 6 and 7. They were close. As my phone goes off. So, is it possible? Absolutely. Now, I'm going to New York confident. It's Citi Field's first ever World Series game, first World Series at Queens in 15 years.
The atmosphere has been terrific all postseason.
It's going to
be
be electric. Ventura versus Synderhaard. We're going to get into a Game 3 preview as we come back from the break. 14 minutes past the 4 o'clock hour. You are listening to SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. 973-655-4256 is the number to call. Sean McChesney, Nick Flaherty, Dan Collins on the show. Back after this. All right, 21 minutes past the 4 o'clock hour. You are listening to SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. 973-655-4256 is the number to call to join the conversation. Sean McChesney, Nick Flaherty, Dan Collins in the studio, and now on the phone we have Jim Rosa from Point Pleasant. Hey, Jim, you're on the show. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? I mean, a lot has changed since I last talked to you. And
yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but I knew the road was. It seemed like the road was going to come to a stutter soon. But
right.
I just wanted to talk to you about let's just look to the future and see what we have here. But the one thing I will say,
don't go too far into the future. We still have a few games to play.
Well, I'm going into the future. I mean, tomorrow.
All right, that's fine.
that's the future that's the only future we have up at this point. So, I think the matchup is great. But the one thing I wanted to talk to you about is I think the best part about this is that we get this 3-game stretch at Citi Field now.
I agree.
We got through with having to play at Kansas City for 2 games, and I thought that was going to be really tough. And I think the matchup wasn't exactly favorable to begin with. But I don't think that the series is over like a lot of people are saying. And I just, let's talk about that for the moment.
Yeah, like a certain Point Pleasant community member of yours is saying all over Twitter last night. Yeah, I agree. The series is not over yet. Now, I know it's not common in the 100-plus year history of Major League Baseball, but 11 teams have done it. We're looking to be the 12th team. It's not over yet. You got Synderhaard tomorrow night. You're in front of your home fans. We're in trouble, absolutely. Mets are in deep trouble, but it ain't over till the last out.
No, I think Syndergaard's the one guy you want on the mound because it seems like whenever Harvey and DeGrom have faltered a little bit, he's been the guy to pick you up. So I think that's the best situation that we can have right now. And I just think I've been saying this, since the beginning of the postseason. I just feel like, lately he's been the guy with the best command. We've heard over and over that Harvey and DeGrom seem like they have a little bit of command issues in the postseason, probably because of fatigue. And it just seems like, and I would take your opinion on this, it just seems like, that with Syndergaard, every time he goes out there, he just seems like he has that extra boost of energy, no matter what the circumstances.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's a fair assessment, really. Syndergaard, all second half long, he's been really impressive. I've seen him pitch actually live. I went to a Met game this summer, and it was in the middle of the San Diego series right before the trade deadline came. But he really
so right before the turning
point.
Right
before the turning point. But he was starting to really find his footing there during that stretch, and he had a nice year overall. And there's a lot of, I think you could describe him as raw talent. I don't know if he's all the way there yet as a finished product, but he's gifted, obviously. And I think tomorrow night, I agree, he's a good guy to have on the mound. He throws hard. He throws to strike people out. You just got to go out there and hope that he deals. And I think he's capable of it.
With that said, we definitely need our offense to come, to show up a little bit more. It seems like all of a sudden they just, I don't know if it's just like, so-called, World Series slump. They finally got to the round where, they've realized that this isn't going to be as easy as they thought, or the layoff could have really affected those guys. But I'm just thinking we need to score. That's the big thing. We need to score, and we have to have some kind of big play early. Like I was reading this thing, and they were saying that they projected that for the Mets to win the series, that David Wright's going to have to come up with a couple big homers. And I think that's still going to be a big theme. Somebody's going to have to hit a big big home run, because that's how the Mets have been able to do it. They've been able to score in bunches.
Yeah, somebody's got to be a hero. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I can't stand. It seems like when we were back in June, and these pitchers, it's like now you're like, all right, don't give up one run. If you give up one run, the game is over. And it can't be like that. And it seemed like the Mets were starting to find that, where they can just punch 3-4 runs, an inning, and that's how you win ball games. You can't win, trying to scratch out runs, or you have the bases loaded and you get one in. You have to hit the ball. You have to make sure those are hits and not a sacrifice fly, or you have to make sure they're not ground out RBIs, because those things get to the teams that you're playing. And I think the Royals have hit the ball constantly, and they've hit the ball hard, and I think that's really what's getting into the heads of the Mets right now. And I think that's really the thing that's bothering them, and that will continue to bother them if they don't come back with some offense themselves.
Yeah, I think if the Mets obviously tomorrow they have to get the bats going, and I've seen Syndergaard. He's been really good, and I think he'll be the guy that's going to. I know he's going to have to pitch well, turn it around, but I'm pretty confident that he'll do well. And it took me like a couple months to realize he was part of that the trade for R.A. Dickey. So it kind of makes you wonder too. these guys, a lot of those really good guys, those good players have come in and when they traded him. So he's got to make it like put that all on the field tomorrow and just show them in the sense that this is the reason why they called me up, why they traded for.
I agree. I think this is the game where Synderhaard has to show Sandy Alderson that the trade was worth it. The call up in May was worth it when he got pounded in Chicago.
I think he has 15 years hopefully to prove that the trade was worth it.
Absolutely, but
the trade was already worth it.
But
to be honest, Dickey's a bust.
You're down 2-0. Everybody in New York is calling Syndergaard. Hey, you're the guy tomorrow, man. It's up to you, or else it's over. And you know what? The kid probably has the pressure on his shoulders, but he can't show it, or else, again, it's going to be the same thing as Harvey and DeGrom. The Royals know how to hit fastballs. The rest of the National League apparently didn't know how. Here's a team that does. Now you're in a pretty good situation. Let's see how you handle it.
But the one thing about Syndergaard, and I'm sure you guys would agree, is that, like I was saying earlier, that he has a lot of movement on his pitches, more than Harvey or DeGrom, and I think that's going to be the key. It seems like, when you get this guy, how young he is, only a few years older than us, and he comes out there and he just pretty much always delivers, and the way he's been studying the Royals and all the scouting reports, I think that there's something in him that, is going to make this a really, competitive game, and I think he understands that the season is pretty much down to this game, and he's going to have to go out there and he's going to have to pitch a great game.
Well, I think you make a great point. His breaking stuff has to be on tomorrow night. He's going to have to mix speeds a little bit more, try and, find a way to slow these guys down, not throw so much heat at them, because like you said, the Royals have a knack for hitting fastballs, Sean. So, Jim, thanks for the call. Anything else before we let you go?
No, that's it, basically. I just wanted to basically talk over, the rest of the series with you guys. But pretty much we covered everything, and let's just hope, the Mets can come back.
Yep, sounds good. Jim, this is the only advice I can give you. Stay positive, stay relaxed. We got to get the win tomorrow night, but you know what? You can't be thinking series over yet. It's not over yet. Teams have done it before. We're looking to be the next one to come back from 2-0.
The one point I want to make, too, is that this has been just a great season for the Mets, and I don't think this is the end. And I think people that are saying this is a fluke, it's completely wrong.
It's not a fluke.
We have a brand new roster, a brand new team. I think you're going to be seeing, almost a run like the Phillies. I think, if anything, you can get 4 to 6 years of division championships with this team.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Jim, I thank you for the call, man. I really appreciate it. Hope to talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
All right, thanks, Jim. That was Jim from Point Pleasant giving us his Mets perspective. And
Great call.
Great call. And I personally, I think he's right. There are a lot of people saying this is the Mets' only year. It's their fluke. Now, I'm not trying to talk as if the World Series is already over and the Royals are holding up the trophy. That's not the case. But if you look to a future standpoint, which I'm not trying to do, but this team is built for the future. Yes, you're probably going to lose Cespedes and Murphy, and that's going to be tough to rebuild. But you have guys in this minor league system where the guys on the World Series roster are not the only ones who have potential to lead this team into the future.
Well, I agree with you. I think there's guys in the system that can get the job done, but I think if you lose both Murphy and Cespedes, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets explore their options on trading one of the pitchers.
I would have to agree.
And it's not an indictment of any one of them. They're all great. They're all wildly talented, and I think that they're to have a staff of 5 aces is something that anyone would love to have.
And one coming back in July.
Right, one coming back in July when Wheeler is ready to go again. And you hope that he does return to good health. But if you're losing both, you're going to have to find a way to get some players in here with major league experience that can add offense and can get the job done to go around Wright and go around D'Arnaud. And I think, I don't know who it would be. They've already moved a couple other arms along the way. They can look into, we already know that they tried to peddle Wheeler at the deadline for Carlos Gomez, and they were able to hang on to him because that deal fell through, and that's probably for the best. I don't think they'd be here right now with Carlos Gomez.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And you know what? And the Mets have to make these smart moves during the offseason. You can't afford to make moves like Michael Kadire, Jason Bay. Again, you got to bring in guys who can play, hit behind right, prove that they can play. Now, Kadire and Bay have done that before they became Mets, and it just didn't end up to be. But you can't be able to take that risk this time. You got to bring in players that can play, hit behind the leadership, and hopefully get this team back to another NL East next year. But again, World Series not over yet. We will do more preview for Game 3 when we come back from the break. 30 minutes past the 4 o'clock hour, you're listening to SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. 973-655-4256 is the number to call. Sean McChesney, Nick Flaherty, Dan Collins on the show. Back after this.